Hey guys, welcome to Ferrum Network and the new series we're just introducing, Meet the Team. The first person we're going to interview and you can actually get to know much better is Nick Odio. He's the EVP of Partnerships and Growth here at Ferrum Network. Hey, Nick.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Cheers.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Look at the merch, look at the cap, look at the t-shirt. Love it.
It's this is the only one of its kind. We ordered one to hold the pens in Miami for the Decentral conference, and when we left, I had all the merch in the room, and everyone else left before me. So I had my pick, and I took the one and only Ferrum Network mug.
Oh my God, that's like limited edition. I absolutely love it.
Extremely limited. It's like a one of one NFT, but it's real.
But it's actually mind blown. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, so the idea for this series is to get to know the people behind Ferrum Network, on a kind of personal level. So what we can start with is maybe you can just introduce yourself a little bit to all of us, and if you could just tell us your background and how you got into crypto.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm Nick Odio, EVP of Partnerships and Growth at Ferrum. The story of how I got into crypto is a bit of a rabbit hole, but I can go down it if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on, of course.
Well, so I was living in Miami at the time. I was actually playing music, and this was back in 2017. So the hurricane, I can't remember, it was Irma. Irma came through, and everyone had to evacuate. So I went up to Georgia to get away from the hurricane. And on the way there, I was like, I'm going to download this Uber app and see if I can get rides along the way. So I did. And because I didn't know when I was going to be able to come back to work, I was playing music down in Miami, and there was a big, the hurricane. We didn't realize we didn't know how long we were all going to be out of work for, because it did a lot of damage. I didn't know how long I was going to be gone for. So I'm like, let me figure something out. So I went all the way up to Georgia, hitching rides all along the way, driving. So I was driving people and like paying for all my gas all along the way. So I'm like, this is kind of cool. I wonder if I could do this out of the country, or out of the States, out of Florida, in different states. Mm-hmm. And so sure enough, when I got to Georgia, I turned it on and I was able to get rides there as well. So I was like, well, this is kind of cool. I've been getting a little bit complacent in Florida. I want to go on a road trip. I'm going to go all around the country, and I'm going to drive Uber wherever I go. So I did. And I took off, and I went to like probably 15 different states in the matter of like 6 months. Just going state to state, driving in a different city in every state, and making enough money to, just kind of keep going on to the next one. And it was a really fun time in my life. And I had a friend who had called me and started talking about crypto. And so I wanted to do some research on it. I had heard of Bitcoin and stuff, but I didn't really understand the underlying technology of blockchain and whatnot. So I dove down the rabbit hole. I was always driving, right? So I just would put on podcasts, and I would listen to hours and hours of podcasts every day. And I got super, super into it. And, went pretty heavy into buying and investing right away. And this was in like 2017. So I caught a little bit of an upswing, right? Well, I actually had the chance to, I started listening a lot to this guy, Patrick Byrne. He was the CEO of overstock.com. He's kind of a crazy guy. But I thought, his political stances and like things like that were like really interesting and stuff. So I wanted to learn more about what Overstock was doing with crypto. They're a big contender in the beginning. So I actually emailed his assistant and it was like, hey, I'd really like to meet this guy. It seems like you guys are on the cutting edge of some of the things that you're doing in the space. And I'd love to meet Patrick. And she was like, this is such a shot in the dark. Like, there's no way. I've been studying crypto for a couple months, but let's give it a shot. She emailed back and she said, yeah, he would love to meet you. Why don't you come to Utah? And so I actually hopped in my car and I drove to Utah. I was in California at the time, and I met this guy who was like, he's kind of like a pioneer of Bitcoin, and he was a super interesting guy. We talked for a couple hours, and I found out all about the stuff they were doing. He actually offered me a job, but at the time I had actually recently taken a job in Alaska, and I was going to be playing music up there. And so I was like, hey man, I can't actually, take the job right now. I'm pretty green in crypto as it is. And I've already, accepted this job up there. He's like, well, whenever you want, you can come back and I'll hook you up. And, so anyways, I went to Alaska, kept going deep into crypto. And the same friend who introduced me to crypto actually called me and said, hey, I've got a job for you down here. It was a good job. This was about a year later. So I started working for a different tech company, and that's actually where I met Taha. And Michelle. I met Taha and Michelle working for that company. We became really good friends. And then we had left that company and we decided that we were going to move to Utah. And when we moved to Utah, I kind of got them investing into some DeFi tokens. And I was pretty heavy into DeFi. This was now the DeFi summer. And so I was looking on CoinMarketCap and I found the DeFi segment of CoinMarketCap where you could just search specifically DeFi coins. And I was like, I'm just going to ape into a bunch of DeFi coins. I'm just going to jump and look later, basically. Mm-hmm. And so I started buying low cap DeFi gems, and Ferrum was one of those tokens. And out of all of them, most of them just did nothing, right? But Ferrum just kept pumping, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do more research into this, and dive deeper into what they were doing, and hopefully buy more. So I did. And what I found was this is a super cool company, and they're building tech. They've got an actual revenue stream from the products that they sell. This is very unlike other projects that you see in the space. So I started actually telling Taha and Michelle about it. I was like, you guys got to get into Ferrum. This is the coolest token. I'm such a big fan of this. And they're like, yeah. But I was always earlier. And I would tell them way after it had pumped, once I was convinced because it was pumping and and I was just then they buy and I always had better entries. But they're finally they came around and they're like, okay, we'll buy into, we'll get into this Ferrum thing too. And so we were all in the Telegram group. We had started to do the pre-sales and whatnot. And I noticed that Ian, without doing your research, you would think he was a moderator for the community because he's just so active in there. And I was like, man, this guy's super cool. He's always he's really, really communicative with the community. And I was like, man, he's the founder. That's rare. You don't typically see that. And that was such a good indicator for me that this team was really in it to win it. And so I actually reached out to Ian because I wanted to see if I could help out with things at Ferrum, not necessarily working, but just see if I could connect them to. At the time, they were there was the potential of doing some NFT related stuff. And I was like, well, I got connections in the music industry from when I used to play as a studio musician. I bet I could hook them up with some artists and things. We could do some NFT stuff. So that's actually the basis on how I hit Ian up. And then Taha and Michelle both have very impressive backgrounds in tech as well. And so they were like, yeah, let's see if we can help out with some of the things that they're working on. And eventually Ian was just I want to bring all you guys on the team. You're adding a lot of input, but you're not really working with us in an official capacity. And by this point we had been on the GC already. Mm-hmm. So we had our, we were pretty involved, but just not in an official capacity. And so he was like, yeah, you guys should definitely come on the team full time. And we were all we were building something else, but this seemed like a better opportunity for us. And so we all jumped on the Ferrum ship, and here we are. But I know that was a really long story, but I hope it was
No, it's
entertaining.
great. It's great. It's absolutely amazing. Oh my God. I didn't know that. Oh, wow. That you actually knew Taha and Michelle before Ian did, and the host. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and then what was so funny was we were actually all living in Utah, and then Naeem was we had never met Naeem, like only over the phone like once, and he was like, "Oh, I'm actually moving to Utah," and we're like, "What? Like you're moving to Salt Lake?" And he's like, "Yeah," and so he moved like a couple weeks after we got hired, and we all met up and had dinner, and we did that a few times while I was still there. So yeah, just kind of small world type stuff, you know?
Wow. Wow. That's so good. I didn't expect it. I thought it's just going to be quite generic, like, oh, like I've heard of Bitcoin, whatever, blah. But this is so good. And you've actually answered the second question that I wanted to ask you. How did you end up joining Ferrum Network? But once, like, we've obviously got that covered now. But if you can just tell us a little bit about your role. So you joined Ferrum
Mm-hmm.
with Taha and Michelle. And what was your initial role? Did it actually evolve into what you're doing right now? And what you're doing right now, if you can just tell us also a little bit on that, like how does it work?
Yeah. It seems like in crypto, it seems like it's been like 10 years, but it was a year ago, actually. It was March of last year when we came on board. And no, like my role with the company at first wasn't really like a title or anything. It was we were going to be helping with the NFT division. Obviously, things changed so rapidly, and Ferrum has embarked on a lot of other initiatives. With the bridge and Crucible and Mainnet being the primary focus. But at the time, we wanted to kind of dabble in the NFT space, so we did a couple of these NFT drops, and that was really like what we were spearheading at the time. But things changed really quickly, and we started to understand what Ferrum was all about and what Ferrum was really about. And I think as we got more familiar with the company, all of our roles started to change pretty dramatically. And speaking for myself personally, I started to get in contact with a lot of projects in the space to see how we could leverage their technology, how they could leverage our technology. And I've always kind of been a little bit of a degen in a way. I really like to wrap my head around what different projects are doing in the space, and how they can lend themselves to partnerships. And so that just kind of naturally was the the path that I fell into here. And I like talking to people, and I like being social. And so, a lot of my day is spent, talking to a lot of different people in the space. And I feel like I know, like, I'm at least a degree of separation from a lot of people in the space. And it's been fun to build that network, for Ferrum and making so many friends along the way too. It's such a great industry to be a part of, and I really enjoy this biz dev side of things. But aside from partnerships, to the growth aspect of the title, EVP partnerships and growth, that tends to focus a lot more on like initiatives and ways that we can leverage our own technology for the adding token utility, bringing in more token holders, and a lot of that stuff coincides with marketing. So hence why you and I work so closely together now. So that's a little bit of a background on what I do at Ferrum. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, brilliant. That's cool because like every now and then, like obviously because we do work quite closely together, and I'm just thinking like, oh God, where does he find the time to actually speak to all those people, to all those projects? That's super cool. Great. And so taking into consideration that you've been involved with Ferrum, it's been like nearly 4 years.
No, no. With Ferrum, it's only been a year. In crypto, it's been about 4 years now. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Uh,
Cool.
yeah.
So taking this past year in at Ferrum, what do you think? What's your biggest win? What do you think is your biggest success to date?
Yeah. Well, you said like what, you've been with Ferrum for like 4 or 5 years. It's like,
That's what I
yeah, it's
thought.
kind of
That's
like
what I
it's
thought.
kind of like the it's kind of like the dog year conversion. Like 1 human year is equal to like 7 dog years. Like 1 year in crypto is equal to like 5 years, or 1 year at Ferrum is equal to like 5 years. So you weren't wrong. It feels like it's been 5 years, and I would say that in this last year, there's been so much development and so much going on. It's hard to pick, just one thing. But I would say um, I'm really big on interoperability. Well, there's two things. I'm really big on interoperability, and I'm really big on infrastructure. Those are like the two things that I like to research most in the space. And from the interoperability standpoint, with Infinity Swap, and originally it was the bridge, right? Now this next iteration is going to become Infinity Swap. And then that's just like a stepping stone to mainnet, which is basically like, bridging interoperability and infrastructure together, which are like my two favorite things. So I would say the thing that I'm like most proud of so far is, our what we've created with the bridge, but that's just scratching the surface. Um, the other thing too, that's obviously a big point of pride for me, is the Iron Alliance, the network of partners in this ecosystem that we've created. That's very, I very really proud of that. We're one of the more reputable projects in the space, I would say. And, it was cool to be at Decentral and actually meet a lot of these people in person. And so many people were like, oh yeah, Ferrum, like we know all about Ferrum. Like, everyone that works in the space like knows Ferrum. And that's, a testament, I think, to what Ian and Naeem have built, and what I've been fortunate enough to be able to expand on with, our network, our ecosystem. So I'm proud of that.
Cool. And obviously the Gaming Guild Alliance as well,
Yeah, and that's like kind of that's new. We're just scratching the surface with that. So that's an initiative within the Iron Alliance that's kind of more focused on that niche component of firm advisory services for our gaming projects and metaverse projects, and being able to connect them with guilds and stuff. So I'm sure I'll look back on that in a few months and say, yeah, I'm super proud of that. But at this moment, it's more like just grinding to get it. To get it bigger.
Cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, Ferrum comes up, and obviously you as well come up with so many great initiatives that change the space, that add the human kind of factor, into the crypto space. It's not just communities on Telegram. It's basically like building also the whole kind of the social aspect of all the projects, working together as well, speaking. Oh, it's great. Absolutely love it.
It's such a collaborative space, right? Like
Yeah.
it's probably one of the, if not the most collaborative industry that I'm aware of. Like, you don't really hear too much about traditional companies like partnering with other companies that often.
Yeah.
Maybe every once in a while, and a lot of times they just end up to be mergers and acquisitions. In crypto, I think it has a lot to do with just like the decentralized nature of things. It's really, it really lends itself to collaboration, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I fully agree. And what do you think is the most exciting thing for you that we currently work on at Ferrum Network?
That's easy. Definitely mainnet. But it's cool because like there's a couple things that are like going to be hitting the market prior to mainnet. That I'm super excited about, like with Infinity Swap and all the integrations that we're working on in parallel, like, Pocket Network and Casper and Algorand. And, we just recently integrated with Avalanche and Moonriver, and now we're working on Harmony and Shiden. And, there's so many more in the pipeline. That's a lot of fun. and I really think we're kind of positioned really well to be one of the leaders in interoperability. Both interoperability 1.0 and interoperability 2.0, the bridging of assets or the swapping of assets across networks, but also, that's just a stepping stone to mainnet, which is, the bridging of arbitrary information and data and messaging across networks. Build a smart contract once and deploy it everywhere. I think that is so exciting and so game changing, and the implications of that are infinite. Hence the name Infinity Layer. It's not a layer 1. It's not a layer 2. It's not a layer 0. It's an infinity layer. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about. But even still, Crucible is going to be such a game changer in terms of creating a sustainable rewards economy for us, and reducing the emissions of Ferrum X, and creating something that is sustainable, but also logistically as a company more automated and more easy to track. And have everything kind of be in one place with the gateway, and have the Crucible be that access point to pre-sales and the sustainable rewards. I think that's going to do wonders for the economics of Ferrum and Ferrum X, just because it's kind of like this liquidity staking meets reflection token mechanisms. And I think it's going to create this really incredible sustainable rewards ecosystem. So that's another stepping stone to mainnet that I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the trifecta, right? It's like Infinity, Swap, Crucible, and mainnet. And mainnet's that like pinnacle. That's going to be super fun.
Brilliant. Well, you explained this so well. What I'm actually going to do probably is just, I'm going to get the audio transcript from this and create an article around what you just literally said, because it's nice. So good. It's so good. Thanks, man. Yeah, honestly. And okay, so we've got mainnet, we've touched on a lot of things, and now just moving slightly, outside the Ferrum zone here. What could you point out as your favorite? Could be one, could be a couple crypto projects out there aside Ferrum. Part of. a part of Ferrum.
Yeah, no, that's easy too. I mean, there's I'm not a maximalist, it's definitely my largest bag, but I'm also a big fan of projects that we work with, right? For example, Pocket Network, a huge fan of what these guys are building and kind of decentralizing RPC infrastructure. Big fan of them, and I'm really excited to be building their bridge, that we're building their bridge for them to Wrapped Pocket. And that's it's fun when you have like a favorite project in the space, and you're able to like figure out ways in which you can collaborate or partner. So I would say Pocket's up there. The other one is Polkadot. I think what they've built is a layer 0 infrastructure project that allows you to build these parachains and parathreads as kind of offshoots of Polkadot itself. I think, that's really tackling the problem of, chain maximalism, and it's so in line with our ethos as well, which is, why we chose to build there. So Dot is another one of my favorite projects. Those two are like, I have so many projects, but those are two that we're working with that I'm excited about.
Nice, great, and cool. And final question for today. What advice would you give to someone who's just started their crypto journey?
Okay, definitely do your own research. Don't be emotional. It's easy to, if one of the tokens that you own goes up, it's easy to say like, it's never coming down. It's always going to go up. When you're feeling euphoric, sell. And when you feel like, you don't even want to look at your portfolio, it's probably a good idea to buy. So that's not financial advice. But I would say to, as much information as you can possibly get. I learned so much through podcasts and YouTube videos. And I'm not talking about like, just like someone shilling tokens, more so like kind of diving into what the technology is. I think, there's
just
a really
like
good
crypto at the Ferrum roundtable.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. No, that's a perfect example. Educational stuff, right? And understanding the underlying tech is super important when you're going to invest in this space because, like, they always say only invest in what you know, and most people can only wrap their head around Bitcoin, and so that's where they start, and that's smart. If you only, if you don't know much about the space, and you kind of understand Bitcoin, Ethereum, those are good places to start, but kind of try to understand what these technologies are trying to accomplish before just aping into stuff. So if you're getting your feet wet, just research, and podcast, YouTube, read articles, all that good stuff.
Brilliant. Nick, great. It's been great chatting with you. Thank you. And do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share as well?
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me, Tom. This is a really cool idea that you had to bring the team members on and get to know everybody a little bit better. So I was the guinea pig, and I'm looking forward to watching more of these. But yeah, thanks, Tom, and thanks to the Ferrum community. This has been a dream job for me, for real. So I really, really enjoy every day working at this company, and there's a lot more in store for Ferrum. So stay tuned.
Lovely. I don't have anything else to say though. So good.
Cool.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Tom. Cheers.